Elizabeth is holding a financial document, and her hands will not stop shaking. Her name is printed beside a debt she says she never agreed to carry. She looks directly at Andrei and asks the question he has apparently been avoiding for months. How long were you planning to hide this from me? Andrei does not apologize. He does not ask whether Elizabeth is scared. He does not explain where the money went or how serious the debt has become. His first response is that Elizabeth does not understand the paperwork. That answer should immediately raise a red flag. Because when someone discovers a financial problem connected to their own name, the normal response is to explain the situation. Andrei does something completely different. He questions Elizabeth's ability to understand what she is reading. Then Elizabeth points to her personal information. Her name is there. Her financial details are there. The document appears to list her as responsible. Andrei had repeatedly told her the business debt was already handled. He acted like there was nothing left to discuss. Whenever Elizabeth asked questions, he made her feel like she was creating stress over a problem that did not exist. Now she is holding evidence that the problem never disappeared. And the next thing Andrei says, may be even more revealing than the document itself. He asks who gave it to her. Not. How can I fix this? Not. Are you okay? Not even. Let me explain. He wants to know who exposed him. That reaction suggests Andrei is more disturbed by losing control of the story than by the fear Elizabeth is experiencing. And that opens several major questions. Did Andrei connect Elizabeth to the loan without clearly explaining the risk? Where did the money actually go? Did someone inside the family already know? Was the business ever as stable as Andrei claimed? And was this really his first financial lie, or simply the first one that became impossible to deny? The debt is serious. But the deeper betrayal is not only financial. The deeper betrayal is that Andrei appears ready for this confrontation. He has an explanation prepared. He has another person to blame. And before Elizabeth can even process what happened, Andrei is already trying to make her reaction the new problem. That tells us the secrecy did not begin this morning. It grew over time. Andrei may have believed he could fix everything before Elizabeth found out. He may have expected another business deal, another payment, or another opportunity to erase the evidence. But when another person's name carries the risk, private problem-solving becomes deception. Elizabeth is not breaking down because one investment failed. She is breaking down because the man demanding her trust did not believe she deserved the truth. And once the hidden letters appear, the story becomes much worse. Andrei originally described the business as their path toward independence. He said it would create stable income, protect their future, and finally free them from relying on Elizabeth's family. That last part is important. Andrei's conflict with Elizabeth's relatives has never been only about personality. It is about power. Whenever Elizabeth's father offers help, that help can come with opinions, questions, expectations, and influence. Andrei may see every financial offer as another reminder that someone else still has authority over his life. So the business becomes more than an investment. It becomes proof. If it succeeds, Andrei can say he never needed Elizabeth's family. He can claim he built something without their approval. He can also change the balance inside his marriage. Suddenly, Andrei is not the outsider asking for an opportunity. He becomes the provider who controls the opportunity. Elizabeth supports the plan because she believes Andrei is building security for their household. But while she supports the dream, Andrei controls nearly everything surrounding it. He controls the paperwork. He controls the accounts. He controls the lender conversations. He controls how much Elizabeth is allowed to know. Whenever she asks questions, he tells her she is worrying too much. And that is where confidence begins replacing transparency. Andrei speaks with so much certainty that Elizabeth is pressured to treat his confidence like evidence. If she asks to review the numbers, he acts like she is questioning his ability. If she asks to see the documents, he treats it like a lack of loyalty. That is not leadership. Leadership gives your partner enough information to make an informed decision. Control removes the information and then demands trust. There is a possibility that Andrei genuinely believed the business would succeed. The original decision may have come from ambition, pride, and a real desire to provide. But intentions only explain the beginning. They do not excuse what happened after the payments were missed. Andrei may have told himself another deal was coming. He may have believed the debt was temporary and Elizabeth did not need to worry yet. That is how secrecy often grows. At first, the person says they are only waiting for more information. Then they say they will explain after the next payment. Then the next payment does not come. Now the truth is harder to admit because the delay has become part of the lie. Every warning letter adds another layer. Every missed payment makes the risk larger. Every day Andrei stays quiet creates another explanation he must eventually defend. The business may have started with ambition. The relationship betrayal began when Andrei knew the plan was failing and still kept Elizabeth outside the truth. Then Elizabeth finds the hidden notices. And those letters prove this was not one forgotten conversation. Andrei received repeated warnings. Each time, he made the same choice. He kept Elizabeth uninformed. Elizabeth discovers several notices inside a hidden business folder. They show missed payments, additional fees, and possible legal consequences if the debt remains unpaid. At that point, Andrei cannot honestly describe the situation as small. He cannot blame one confusing document. He knew the problem was growing. He knew Elizabeth's name appeared beside the risk. And each time another warning arrived, he chose silence. Andrei says he hid the letters because Elizabeth would panic. That explanation may sound protective for a moment. Then it completely falls apart. Elizabeth was not protected from the debt. She was only prevented from understanding it. Her financial future was still exposed. The fees were still increasing. The lender was still expecting payment. The only thing Andrei protected was his ability to control when Elizabeth learned the truth. This is where the relationship pattern becomes more troubling. One person makes the decision. That person hides the consequences. Then they blame the partner's emotional reaction for the secrecy. Andrei may honestly believe Elizabeth becomes too emotional. He may feel she immediately calls her family and turns every private problem into a larger confrontation. There may be some truth in that complaint. Elizabeth does appear to rely heavily on her family when she feels overwhelmed. Their involvement could make Andrei feel attacked before he has the chance to explain himself. But Elizabeth's possible reaction cannot justify denying her information tied to her own name. You cannot say someone is too emotional for the truth while expecting them to carry the consequences of that truth. Andrei wants Elizabeth to trust him. Yet every choice he makes creates another reason she cannot. He wants the benefits of marriage without the accountability of marriage. He wants Elizabeth to share the risk, but not the decision. That is not an equal partnership. Elizabeth also has to examine her own role in this pattern. She may have ignored warning signs because she wanted the business to succeed. She may have noticed Andrei becoming defensive around money, but decided not to push harder. And that is understandable. When every question creates another argument, avoiding the subject can feel easier than challenging it. Elizabeth accepts his confidence because she wants peace. She hopes the problem will solve itself. That avoidance may have allowed the secrecy to continue. But avoiding conflict is not the same as knowingly creating financial danger. Elizabeth may have failed to investigate. Andrei chose not to disclose. Those are not equal decisions. Then Elizabeth says she no longer knows which parts of their life are real. That line reveals the true size of the damage. Financial betrayal never stays inside one bank account. It spreads into every part of the relationship. If Andrei lied about the debt, did he also lie about the business income? Were other payments hidden? Did he use Elizabeth's information anywhere else? Was he telling her what was true, or only what would keep her calm? Now, Elizabeth has to question the entire system. Andrei finally admits the debt is real. But instead of accepting full responsibility, he turns toward the subject that has always helped him change the argument. Elizabeth's family. And suddenly, the person who hid the debt starts acting like the person who was betrayed. Andrei says Elizabeth's family pushed him into this position. He says they treated him like an outsider who needed their money, approval, and connections. According to him, the loan was supposed to free him from all of that. He wanted a business that belonged to him. He wanted success nobody could credit to Elizabeth's father. And this defense contains a partial truth. Elizabeth's family may have judged Andrei harshly. They may have watched his decisions closely and expected him to fail. Constant family involvement can absolutely damage a marriage. When every disagreement has an audience, couples stop solving problems privately. Every mistake becomes a family discussion. Every argument becomes another opportunity for relatives to choose sides. Andrei may feel like he married Elizabeth, but has spent years negotiating with everyone around her. That frustration is understandable. But look at what he does with it. Andrei responds to external control by creating more control inside his marriage. He resents Elizabeth's family for questioning him. Then he punishes Elizabeth by denying her the right to question him. He says he wants independence, but his version of independence requires Elizabeth to surrender access to information involving her own finances. That is not freedom. That is isolation disguised as leadership. The business also appears deeply connected to Andrei's identity. If he admits the plan is failing, he is not only admitting a financial mistake. He is admitting Elizabeth's family may have had valid concerns. For Andrei, that may feel worse than the debt itself. He has spent so much time presenting himself as strong, capable, and independent that failure becomes emotionally threatening. So protecting his pride starts feeling more important than protecting the marriage. That explains why Andrei continues defending himself even after Elizabeth finds the documents. He is not only protecting the business. He is protecting the image of himself as the man who always has a plan. Then Elizabeth learns her father already received a call about the missed payments. Now Andrei's biggest fear has happened. The secret is no longer private. Her family knows. Andrei immediately begins focusing on how they will use this against him. He imagines their criticism. He imagines their satisfaction. He imagines them saying they were right about him all along. But once again, he is more focused on exposure than impact. Instead of apologizing to Elizabeth, he accuses her of choosing her family over her husband. That is a powerful distraction because it forces Elizabeth to defend her loyalty. The conversation started with a hidden debt. Now Elizabeth is explaining why she listened to her own father. Andrei changes the central question from, "Why did you lie?" to, "Why did you embarrass me?" That is how blame reversal works. The person responsible for the original action changes the emotional focus. Suddenly, the person who discovered the problem is defending how they reacted to it. Elizabeth breaks down because she is not only processing the loan, she is realizing Andrei sees her discovery as a betrayal against him. And when production brings up his earlier version of the story, his defense becomes even harder to believe. Elizabeth asks Andrei why he is angry with her. He created the debt. He hid the letters. He told her the problem had already been handled. Yet somehow, she is now defending whether she has been a loyal wife. That emotional reversal explains why her breakdown feels so heavy. Elizabeth is not only angry. She is grieving the marriage she thought she had. She may still love Andrei, and that makes the truth more difficult to accept. Love creates the temptation to search for a softer explanation. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he believed he could fix it. Maybe his pride became too strong. Maybe he wanted to protect the family from panic. All of those things could be partially true, but none of them make Elizabeth financially safer. Andrei says she should have confronted him privately instead of allowing production and her relatives to become involved. There is a fair concern inside that argument. Public confrontation can make honest communication more difficult. Once cameras and family members are involved, Andrei may feel surrounded and judged before he can explain himself. But production did not create the debt. Elizabeth's family did not hide the letters. Elizabeth did not invent his first explanation. Then production brings up an earlier interview. In that interview, Andrei claimed Elizabeth knew about the loan and supported the risk. Elizabeth strongly denies that. Now Andrei changes his story again. He says they discussed many financial plans, and Elizabeth may not remember the exact conversation. This is where his credibility begins collapsing faster than the business. First, the debt was handled. Then Elizabeth supposedly knew about it. Now she may have forgotten. Every version protects Andrei while placing more doubt on Elizabeth. And that is why changing stories can feel more damaging than the original mistake. One bad decision may come from panic. Several changing explanations suggest someone is building a defense instead of telling the truth. Andrei appears to rely on confidence more than consistency. He speaks forcefully enough that the other person may begin questioning what they clearly remember. That does not automatically prove manipulation. But when the story changes repeatedly, confidence stops being reassuring. It becomes part of the red flag. Andrei may never have intended to destroy Elizabeth financially. He may have convinced himself that he could solve everything before she discovered it. But secret problem solving is still deception when another person is carrying the risk. Elizabeth tells him she could have survived a failed business. She does not know whether their marriage can survive a planned lie. That may be the most important statement in the entire confrontation. A failed company can sometimes be rebuilt. Debt can be managed. Money may eventually be recovered. But once trust becomes another account Andrei controls, the marriage no longer feels like a partnership. And now viewers are left with a difficult question. Was this one desperate mistake made by a proud man under pressure? Or did the crisis expose the way Andrei has always handled power? Fan reaction would likely split into several different camps. Some fans would fully support Elizabeth. They would say Andrei did not simply hide a business problem. He removed Elizabeth's right to make decisions about her own financial future. Many viewers would focus on the fact that his explanation kept changing. They would also question why his first reaction was anger toward the person who exposed the truth instead of concern for the person carrying the risk. A section of the audience would defend Andrei. They might argue that Elizabeth's family constantly interferes, judges him, and waits for him to fail. Those viewers may believe Andrei became secretive because every mistake turns into a public family attack. They may also question why Elizabeth allowed him to control the accounts without reviewing the paperwork herself. Then there will be viewers who blame both of them. They will criticize Andrei's deception but also argue that Elizabeth ignored warning signs because avoiding conflict was easier. That debate comes down to intention versus impact. Andrei may not have intended to harm Elizabeth. He may have believed he was protecting the family from panic, embarrassment, or another fight. But good intentions do not erase financial risk. They do not remove overdue payments. They do not make hidden letters disappear. And they do not rebuild trust after several conflicting stories. Andrei's biggest public relations problem would be his refusal to show vulnerability. Had he admitted he was scared, embarrassed, and desperate, some viewers might understand his actions. Instead, his defensiveness makes the entire situation appear more calculated. He seems more interested in winning the argument than repairing the damage. That difference matters. Winning means proving Elizabeth should not be angry. Repairing means understanding why she is angry and accepting the consequences. Looking ahead, Elizabeth may start reviewing every account, contract, and business decision. Even if they remain together, the relationship could shift from partnership into surveillance. Andrei may see that as disrespect. Elizabeth may see it as protection. That fight could become larger than the original loan. Elizabeth may decide to separate their finances temporarily. She could demand complete access to every account. She may also require independent financial advice before signing another document. Andrei's reaction to those boundaries would reveal whether he truly wants to rebuild trust. If he accepts transparency as a consequence of his actions, there may still be a path forward. If he treats transparency like humiliation, then control may matter more to him than repair. Elizabeth's father may also offer financial help, but that help will likely come with questions and conditions. Andrei may reject it because accepting would damage his pride. Elizabeth may accept it because protecting the household matters more than protecting Andrei's image. That creates another family war. Andrei could accuse Elizabeth's relatives of using the crisis to regain control. Elizabeth could respond that Andrei gave them that opportunity by hiding the truth. The marriage may continue, but emotional trust will not return quickly. Andrei cannot repair this with another confident promise. He needs evidence. He needs complete transparency. He needs consistent behavior over time. Elizabeth also has to make a difficult decision. Does she want a husband she can trust, or a project she must constantly monitor? Because once one spouse becomes the investigator, everything changes. Every late payment becomes suspicious. Every private phone call creates doubt. Every missing document feels intentional. Andrei's biggest lie is not simply that the loan was already settled. His biggest lie is the idea that he could hide the risk, control the explanation, and still describe the marriage as equal. Elizabeth's breakdown is not weakness. It is the moment she realizes that the person demanding her trust did not believe she deserved the truth.